Breaking news coming at you guys. Unfortunately for the Golden State Warriors, center and number 2 overall pick James Wiseman has torn his meniscus per the report from Shams. And the fear that goes along with the rest of this is that Wiseman is going to miss the rest of the NBA season. That is a brutal injury for Golden State. Now, this is not that uncommon. The Warriors have not officially announced this by any means, but the report from Shams that it's a torn meniscus. Woj says that there's an expectation that Wiseman might miss the rest of the year. They're still working through that plan. It's still a little bit early from that perspective, but with where Golden State's at in the season, at least as relates to the rest of the regular season, it does seem very possible, if not outright likely, that Wiseman is not going to be able to return to the Golden State Warriors this season. And that's a brutal turn of events for a player who has at least shown promise. Again, the second overall pick, 11.5 points per game, over almost 6 boards, He's gone through quite a bit of adversity. You remember earlier this year, Wiseman had missed 11 games with a wrist injury. So his season, assuming he is unable to return, which at this point I think is very, very likely, is going to be limited to just 39 games this year. It's a brutal turn of events for Golden State and for Wiseman, who certainly did need as many, opportunities, reps, and minutes as he possibly could have had. So in the comments section, I want you guys to give me your one-word reaction to the James Wiseman injury. One word, I think brutal is the one I've used earlier. Pain could just be a simple one-word reaction there. Unfortunate, there's a lot of different routes that you can go there as it relates to James Wiseman injury. But assuming he's out for the year, that certainly puts a damper on Golden State's playoff hopes as well. Now, part of the reason why this is so difficult for Golden State is it's not like they had a bunch of great big men anyway. Kevon Looney is going to take over, I think, as like the starting quote-unquote center with James Wiseman, but he's not been the type of player that Golden State was hoping for. You'll see plenty of Draymond Green small ball 5, as we've seen for quite a while now. Eric Pascal, Smilojic, those guys can play. Pascal's been a nice bench option, putting a pretty impressive 9.5 points per game. But none of these guys truly offers the length and rim running and protection and athleticism and upside that James Wiseman was offering the Golden State Warriors. So, again, the report, for those of you not fully paying attention here, the fear is that James Wiseman is going to miss the rest of the NBA season after suffering a torn meniscus. Now, that comes from Shams. Woj says the Warriors are still consulting, and there might be a path in which he does not miss the rest of the season. I think that's fairly unlikely. It's a brutal update for Golden State, as Wiseman appears set to miss the rest of this year. Folks, Chat Sports is now on the News Break app. Download it today and support the show in the process by using our link, chatsports.com/newsbreak. Go download it today. You got local news, politics, sports content, weather, everything you could possibly want on the News Break app. That's chatsports.com/newsbreak. Go download the app today. You can stay updated in terms of everything going on around your local community. That way, you don't miss out on stuff that happens. That's important. It helps you stay smart, and you support the show as well. Go download the app today, chatsports.com/newsbreak. James Wiseman, not the only injury update to get into on today's video. There's also Victor Oladipo, who unfortunately also once again banged up. The update is that he's out, quote-unquote, indefinitely with a right knee injury, and the Miami Heat not providing much more beyond that. There's also a report as part of this coming out of Miami that states Oladipo is not going to get anything close to a max contract this offseason, both in terms of the years and the money. Remember, Oladipo earlier this offseason rejected a 2-year, $45.2 million deal from the Houston Rockets. And Oladipo, when healthy, is a really good NBA player. And even these numbers are not bad, but they're not what we saw out of prime Oladipo with the Indiana Pacers. And this is by no means a full-fledged Nerlens Noel situation, at least not quite yet. But this injury is another big deal for Oladipo, who at this point, it's fair to wonder if this guy's ever going to be able to play a full NBA season again. He's just always banged up as good as he is. Now, we don't know the full details yet on this latest injury, but it also adds more murkiness to just where Oladipo is going to be this next offseason. Where will he sign in free agency? So, because I don't know, I want you guys to answer it for me. Make your predictions in the comments section, especially get the ad break here on YouTube. Where will Oladipo play next season? Let's chat Golden State Warriors here on Chat Sports. The Bradley Beal trade rumors, they simply will not ever go away. The Athletic latest throw out this idea. What about Golden State trading for Bradley Beal in the offseason? Now, this, of course, will be part of an all-in push within the windows of the Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green trio for Golden State. And it's understandable that, hey, we would love to get Bradley Beal because, he's Bradley friggin' Beal, and he's awesome. And even though he's been a bit banged up as of late, he's putting up almost 31 points per game, a rather good 34.3% shooting given how often he shoots three-pointers. It's a pretty good efficiency for the volume that he's had this season. He's been one of the best players in the NBA this year, still leads the association in scoring. So it is perfectly understandable to go, if you're a Golden State fan, of like, oh man, I'd love to get Bradley Beal. Yeah, there's an overlap of guard there between Beal, Thompson, and Curry, but they're all great. So maybe just figure that one out later and then go from there. The problem for Golden State becomes the cost of this. Here was the trade package put together by The Athletic. Bradley Beal, of course, goes to Golden State. The Wizards get Andrew Wiggins, a 2021 first-round pick, and James Wiseman. Now, it is worth mentioning that, that first-round pick comes from the Minnesota Timberwolves, top 3 protected, but incredibly valuable. And also, James Wiseman just tore his meniscus, so that might hurt his trade value. Maybe Golden State, or maybe the Wizards don't want that anymore. It's all very complicated. But get your votes in for me here quickly. Would you do this trade in general? Y for yes, or type in N for no. Now, The Athletic actually mentioned 3 names as part of their article of hypothetical trade targets. Bradley Beal, Myles Turner, and Steven Adams. We've talked plenty about Bradley Beal. We know how great he is, how good he is, how perfect he'd be in the Steve Kerr offense. Turner and Adams are fairly interesting, even before the injury from James Wiseman. Not sure how they all fit together, because even if Wiseman misses this year, he's going to be back next year. It's a torn meniscus. It's not like his knee's gone forever, Turner's a great player. One of my favorite guys in the NBA, offers immense defensive ability. How do you pair Myles Turner and James Wiseman together? I don't think you want those two on the court at the same time. And even if Turner can stretch it a little bit, going to pay him $20 million and have your number 2 overall pick be a backup? That doesn't really make much sense for Golden State, but I like the player that Myles Turner is. What makes even less sense to me is bringing in Steven Adams. Sure, maybe you want to upgrade over Kevon Looney. I get that. That's perfectly reasonable and understandable from my perspective. Throwing big-time money at him? I don't know about that one. Why are you going to pay a 20, almost $17 million per year is what Adams going to make the rest of his contract? Be a backup big? Nah, that's not a good use for a team that is already paying a lot of money. Let's look now at where things stand in the Western Conference, the playoff race here, if you will. The Jazz are number 1. The Suns are 2. Imagine telling somebody that before the year began. They'd call you crazy. The Clippers are 3. The Denver Nuggets are 4. And the Lakers check in there at number 5. They're a half game back from the 4 seed and also ahead of the 6 seed. Blazers 6, Mavs 7, Grizzlies 8, Spurs 9, Warriors 10. Now, we'll stick on this here because it's important. The playoffs is different this year for the NBA. I would argue more fun. Remember, 7, 8, 9, 10 go through this type of little fun tournament. So getting 10 gives you a chance. The Mavs would have to then play the Grizzlies. As things stand right now, winner of that game is the 7 seed. The loser of that game gets the winner of the 9-10 game, with the winner of that then matchup in the kind of bracket style thing here, getting the 8 seed. So Golden State is still alive. They're a half game back of that number 9 seed, 1.5 games clear of the 11-seeded New Orleans Pelicans, with the Sacramento Kings then checking in with the number 12 seed right now. The Thunder 13, the Rockets 14, and the lowly Minnesota Timberwolves bringing up the rear at number 15. Now, if you guys want more NBA videos, subscribe. We're almost at 250K, less than 10,000 away, and I want to get there before the playoffs actually get underway. So if you want more NBA news and rumors, hit that big red button and subscribe today. Let's talk Los Angeles Lakers and a potential Anthony Davis return. The report from ESPN's Woj is that Davis is set to be reevaluated by the LA Lakers this week, and he could then return in the next 10 to 14 days. That report coming out late Saturday night. Now, Davis has not been able to play for the Lakers since February 14th, dealing with a calf strain in his right leg, and has limited him, and as a result, substantially impacted the LA Lakers. Davis has truly emerged alongside LeBron James in Los Angeles as one of the best players in the NBA. Not that he wasn't already, but I think it's a little bit more obvious from that perspective. Without Anthony Davis, amid some other injuries, mind you, the Lakers have fallen to just 12 and 13, of course, coming off a win Saturday as well. So we'll call it 500 there in the end. They've gone from the number 2 seed to down the number 5 seed area. AD has been fantastic. The issue is for LA, they have some depth behind him in terms of the big men on their roster. Montrezl Harrell, Andre Drummond, who also battling some injuries. Markieff Morris, Marc Gasol, not great, but they have put up some decent production and at least been able to provide minutes for LA. But getting Anthony Davis back is a massive return whenever that finally happens for the LA Lakers. Look, 22.5 points per game, almost 8.5 boards, almost 2 blocks. He continues to be one of the best big men in the NBA today, and there's a reason why the Lakers are one of the title favorites once AD and also LeBron James too get back from their own injuries. Now, trying to guess here, if you will, some potential Anthony Davis return games. Now, it's not quite that 10 to 14 day timeline for that April 19th game. That's pushing it a little bit. That's a little bit more like 9 games. What jumps out to me in terms of a potential timeline is a 2-game road swing at the Dallas Mavericks, April 22nd and then April 24th as well. Those 2 games, that could be your target return for Anthony Davis. Now, of course, I'll also make note this would mean that Davis would miss games against the New York Knicks and against the Hornets and Celtics and probably the Jazz as well. But that 2-game road swing in Dallas, April 22nd, April 24th, that makes a lot of sense within that 10 to 14 day time frame. Then there's the Orlando Magic April 26th and at the Wizards April 29th. So with a little road swing coming up for LA, would appear to me that the most likely outcome is Anthony Davis makes his return to LA on the road. But I want you guys to make your best guesses for me in the comments section. Predict which game Anthony Davis returns. And if you guys want to cheat and just go with against the Mavericks, I'd allow that one as well. Get your votes in for me in the comments section. LeBron James injury update here on Chat Sports, and it seems like, at long last, the King is going to return to LA. Woj reports that LeBron James, currently dealing with a high right ankle sprain he suffered about 3 weeks ago, is set to return in about 3 weeks. So a little bit after, hypothetically and planned, of course, Anthony Davis gets to make his return to the LA Lakers. Now, before his injury, and this should not come as any type of surprise, LeBron James was putting up fantastic numbers. He was averaging over 25 points per game, putting up about 8 rebounds and 8 assists per game as well, and he looked like the guy we have all known and loved and appreciated in terms of the greatness that we've seen out of LeBron in his lengthy NBA career. If and when he's able to fully return, it's going to be a significant boost for LA as it relates to their playoff run. The Lakers, coming off the NBA championship, unfortunately, have been hamstrung by injuries. That has been a problem for them. They have not been able to truly stay healthy. LeBron James among them, Anthony Davis also included, of course, in that conversation. In fact, in reality, can make the argument that 3 Lakers starters are out right now with various injuries. Once they get healthy, this Lakers team is going to be one of the top contenders to win the NBA championship. Now, the injuries have impacted their seeding. They've gone from being number 2 and probably going to push for the number 1 seed to, hey, they might have to go on the road to open up a playoff series. But Dennis Schroeder, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, LeBron, AD, Andre Drummond, they got a very promising bench squad as well. Once those guys are able to get fully healthy, it will allow players like Kyle Kuzma and Marc Gasol and Talen Horton-Tucker and others to really play that more typical bench backup, or what they're better suited for. Wes Matthews, you can also throw in that conversation. And, of course, who can forget the GOAT, Alex Caruso, as well. So, in theory, LeBron will get to make his return to the Lakers in about 3 weeks, coming back off that high right ankle sprain, which he did kind of play through in the game. He suffered it there. And I assume, at least, is going to be back in his MVP caliber form if it takes him maybe a couple games to get his sea legs fully back under him. But with LeBron's return should also come along with the Anthony Davis return on top of that. So which player is more important, more vital, more critical, whatever more phrase you want to use, to the Lakers' chances of repeating as NBA champions? And I'll throw this in there. I don't know if there's a wrong answer. You've got to the top 5, top 10, top whatever, best players in the association. But get your votes in for me right now in the comments section. Who is more important? Type AD for Anthony Davis or type in LBG for LeBron James. Get your votes in the comments section.